What is going on, people? You already know who it is and what it is, man. It's your boy Mark D, and we are live on the air once again. 7mileradio.com is what you're listening to, and I got some special guests in the building with me today. You know what I'm saying? I got the brothers of New Era Detroit holding it down in the studio with me, man. What's going on with y'all fellas, man?
What up, dog?
What up, dog? Same old, man. So I just want to, introduce not only some people in Detroit that may not be familiar with the movement, but the rest of the world with New Era Detroit, what you stand for, what the movement is, and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? So first off, let's go around the panel, you know what I'm saying, and introduce everybody, you know what I'm saying, and let's see who we got in the building today. Let's kick it off.
All right, my name is Brother. They call me Vu. I'm a New Era Detroit. I'm the director. I've been around in the streets for quite some time. I'm just out here. We out here every day doing community work, putting in the work. So, y'all gonna get to see me quite often in the New Era Detroit, putting in a lot of work in these streets.
That's what's going on, man. Who else we got over here?
They call me Skrill. I'm the positive energy of the group. Keep it motivated, keep it going. You're gonna see us a lot doing positive things, trying to change our community around, bring it back from the roots.
Mm-hmm. That's what it is. Who we got next? Oh, don't get shot now, fellas. I'm saying y'all out there in the movement, boots on the ground, man. What's going on? Scoot up to the mic a little bit for me, homie.
I'm Cody Cole, man. Repping all day.
Okay.
NED, baby.
That's what it is. And we got the HNIC over here, last but not least. Wait. What's wrong? Okay, let me. His mic wasn't on. There you go. Let's say it again, homie.
What up, though?
That's what it is, man. Who are you, man? What up, though? That's your name?
What's happening? Nah, man. I'm Zeke with NED, man. I'm the founder of New Era Detroit, but we got a great group of people out here, man, and our number one goal is getting to the business, man, and taking these streets to where they need to be, and that's back to reality. We try and put the real back in reality, in terms of getting our shit together, man, as people, and that's just point blank.
I can dig it, man. So you basically kind of answered my next question before I even was about to get into it. Was basically what is as a founder, I guess you can answer this question. What was the mission of New Era Detroit? What was the vision behind creating it? What is the movement?
Well, the mission and the goal, when you really and we from the D, like straight up, man,
right.
You know what I mean? This ain't like, although this is a very, very positive movement, a positive organization, don't get it twisted. We from these streets. We just brothers and sisters, because we got some dope sisters in the movement too. But we just people from the streets, man, that's tired of what's going on, really, man. You know what I mean? The beautiful pain of what Detroit is.
Right.
We just tired of it, man. You know what I mean? We not moving in the right direction. Not as people. Not as people from the D. When you look around and talk about Detroit, this is the blackest city in America. Point number one is if this the blackest city in America, why we don't act like it?
Right.
You know what I mean? You talk about how powerful of a people we are. Why isn't that energy displayed here in the city of Detroit? We got a lot of hate in this city. We got a lot of envy. We got a lot of people that don't give a fuck and don't give a damn.
Right.
It's too much negative energy in a circle where there's so many black people. And when you really think about, I think growing up, everybody's goal was to make it out the D. You know what I mean? That's what everybody used to talk about. I got to get up out the hood. And that's what happened. You know what I mean? The successful black people, that's exactly what they did. They got up out the D, and left what's behind. It's a city to where there's so much room for growth and innovation, and we see that with what they doing downtown. Right. I'm in the property management game as well, man. So I see people literally from all over the world investing and buying real estate in the city of Detroit, man, and investing in this city. And I just can't understand for the life of me why black folks can't get it and don't understand. This is the blackest city in America, yet we don't own anything. Every time we need to go get a bottle of water from the gas station or the grocery or a liquor store, wherever, you shop or where you go, we not patronizing ourselves.
Right.
And when you really look at that, and we all supposed to be hustlers. This is one thing about Detroit. You know, this is a city. No matter what you're doing, you know, it grooms hustlers. You know what I mean? And that's what we are. But I can't, for the life of me, understand how so many people can call themselves hustlers when they getting hustled. You know what I mean? We getting hustled every single day. We drop a dime with somebody that don't look like us, that don't stay in our communities. Why? Because that money is not coming back to the rightful place. That's why our communities look the way that they look. We not breaking bread in our communities. We not breaking bread with our people. We not stepping up the way we supposed to step up. There's no way in hell we should be spending $1.3 trillion to this economy and can't see nothing back. We the biggest spenders, least producers. You know, I come from the school of Dr. Claude Anderson. He talk economics, he talk money, and when you talk about moving and changing, you got to talk economics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, you hitting a lot of points, man, that we talk about a lot here on 7 Mile Radio. And one of the main things is, you know, about us supporting ourselves. You know what I mean? As you brought up, we are the main spenders. We spend the most out of every other ethnic group on the planet, yet we own the least.
Yes, sir.
And we have a problem with, you know, or we have issues, I say, with everything around us. So that is basically a translation to me that we are actually funding our own downfall.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? So, you know, when you look at it, like, all we really got to do is invest in ourselves. You know what I'm saying? But you know what the crazy part about that is? I feel like that's going to be one of the key things that that will probably ignite this race war that they want. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Because once we get to supporting ourselves and embracing ourselves, we will become the racist ones because they feel left out. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna tell you what I see that gives me an example of that on a small scale. When I post things on my Facebook stat about how much I love black women and how they beautiful and they queens, and I'm looking for 50 black people to be a part of something positive that I'm putting together in Detroit and all these other things, I get inboxes from white people who feel the need to insert themselves in every situation where we are embracing ourselves, like they need some kind of equal acknowledgement. I get a white girl in my inbox, well, don't you think all people are beautiful? Do you only think black women are beautiful? You see what I'm saying? So it's like that shows me that, you know, on a larger scale, it's like, because I want to say to him like, oh, you feel left out, like, right. You know, welcome to the club, right? You know, basically on some shit like that. But you know, what do you feel like you all as a group? You know, we can go around the board with this one. Is the main issues that we need to tackle as black people to get ourselves back on the right track.
Well, I'm gonna go real quick, and I'm gonna let the mic breathe a little bit. But just to touch on that, I'm glad you brought that up, man. But at this point of the game, we really need to stop giving a fuck what people think. You know what I mean? Like, we really need to stop caring about how people feel about shit. It's really time for us to start looking ourselves in the mirror. Of course, we gonna have and just this whole thing with what's going on now, I feel like we just to the point to where we begging for acceptance. Everything is like, oh, Black Lives Matter, you know, this and that and the third, and this is all lives, and all of this, you know, nothing is never gonna change until black folks get it. Black lives is not gonna matter for real until black folks get it. You know what I mean? We need to be more or less, instead of standing out these police stations, instead of, you know, rioting and protesting out in front of some of these other venues, we need to be doing that in the streets, because once we get it, that's all that matters. You know, like, we need to concentrate on ourselves right now and kind of figure out how to block out everything else.
It's two things that I feel like needs to happen amongst black people for us to fix ourselves. One of the two things is, as we're speaking on right now, we need to support ourselves and establish our own everything. You know what I'm saying? From schools to banks to media outlets and everything of that nature. It's either that or take our asses back to Africa. Because while, as my man said, are we begging for acceptance, begging to be equal in this capitalist country? The country was built off capitalizing off of our asses.
Absolutely.
Right? So what we are doing is equivalent to the hoe begging the pimp to be equal. Why would the pimp ever make the hoe equal if he's still capitalizing off of her? We were put here to be capitalized off of.
Most definitely.
So it's either we gonna support ourselves or we gonna get the hell on. You know what I mean?
True. So I want to say a few things. This is Brother Vu speaking, man. if we look at it from a broader perspective, let's put it in this one. As Zeke said earlier, we spent $1 trillion last year, right?
Right.
Over $1 trillion.
Right.
Now, we spent that $1 trillion. Only 2% of the private black-owned businesses was on the receiving end of that. Only 2%. Now, with that being said, private black-owned businesses employ more black people than any other business. So that's a serious contradiction right there. Even though we're hiring more black people than any other private-owned business,
We're getting the least amount of money.
we're getting the least amount of money. So that's a serious. So then you go into a Chinese restaurant. You go into a Chinese restaurant, and who do you see mostly? You see black people, right? Now, if you go to somewhere like Motor City, you see any Chinese people in Motor City?
Right.
Do you see any Arabs in Motor City? You might get lucky and see one.
Yeah, trickle in there, here and there.
And then when you look at the leading cause of death for a black man is by another black man from ages 15 to 34. So all that alludes to is that we don't have a value system. Our value system in our neighborhoods is essentially one of the biggest problems. That's why when we want to go buy something, we go get something that's far away from black. We want to get Versace. We want to get foreign names. We want to get foreign cars. We want to get anything that disassociates ourselves from our own people.
I heard a dude say it was a stat that was similar to this conversation where somebody else posted, and one of the comments was a guy that said, I work too hard for my money to be seen in cheap gear, so I'm gonna rock my Jordans and my Gucci and all. I'm like, cheap gear? Do you realize that them shoes only cost $15 to make, that you spent $400 for, right? You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people got, this twisted sense of like black people, we equate wealth or success rather with how much we have, like how much we buy, not how much we produce. Like my man said again earlier, we the biggest consumers and the smallest producers. And then speaking of that, of producers, I want to ask y'all one thing. Like, how do y'all feel like? What do y'all feel hip hop's place in where our culture is? Where do you think hip hop has contributed to that in any kind of way, or no?
That contribute a lot to it, man. Me dealing with the music and everything. It's really summing it all up. It's messing with the minds, man.
Right.
The minds of the African Americans, the minds of everybody, really. We just need to get our minds right, our priorities together. We need to learn what things really mean, as far as what value means, definitions, knowledge. Knowledge is the power to everything. You gotta understand what certain things mean. I talk to most people, just like you say, with the value system. We don't value anything. Hip hop is taking a toll to no value. You cashing out. What are you putting aside?
Me and my girl Gina had a conversation about this, and it's basically like one of the first rules of the dope game. We all out here in the street. We've all heard the term "don't get high off your own supply." So what are we doing with hip hop? We are the producers of hip hop. We're not supposed to consume it. We're supposed to sell it, and I don't mean not consuming in the way of we're not supposed to support it, or we're not supposed to but we're not supposed to take, like you said, those laws and principles and values out of hip hop and apply it to our life. That's what's really killing us. The whole bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks. Yeah, stop snitching, don't snitches get snitched, all of that. Those are the things that's killing us, the principles that's killing us. Go ahead.
See, hip hop is like hip hop is turned into who's the biggest consumer. They even talk about being consumers, so of course we gonna consume even more, because as a black people as a whole, we never really had anything besides music and religion anyway. So if the music is being tampered with, that's really was a source of communication. So
exactly
the way we communicate with our own self is kind of like water with
and when they get into it and taint it, cut it, and sell it back to us, that's what's killing us.
Yeah, I want to chime in on that just a little bit too, because I completely agree with everything y'all said. But agreeing with something and then thinking about the actual reality of it, because I'm a realist, And you gotta understand that this hip hop music is not gonna go anywhere.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So knowing that it's not gonna go anywhere, it's like, what do we do about that? And it's really stepping up. You know what I mean? We gotta step up from inside the household. I feel that so many people are so quick to judge and point fingers at people when you really need to just be taking care of your own goddamn business. Because when I grew up, I listened to, although music is not, you know, it took a turn for, it took a left turn, you know, music did. But, you know, we still grew up listening to some, you know, little
NWA.
Yeah, come on now. But understanding, see, I had a real OG that told me the difference. Like, I knew the difference between fuck shit and reality.
Yeah.
And that's what we not getting. You know, we dropping the ball as leaders, as role models, as parents.
Right.
Because if these things were tight first, we wouldn't even need to have the discussions that we have with music. You know, we got to start once again looking at ourselves in the mirror first. And you're gonna get a lot of that with this organization, because that's what we are.
And we are as black people, we are in the state of damage control, of examining ourselves. Now, I'm not, when I bring up the conversation of hip hop, I'm not completely by a long shot blaming hip hop for the state of our people.
I feel you.
But at the same time, you know, back then, not only in our household did we have a balance, but in music did we have a balance. And nowadays, the agenda is pushing the type of music that is, promoting the type of stuff and it's one-sided out here now, you know what I mean? So with that being said, that's where the music comes into play at now. At the same time, you know, especially a lot of us that may came from single parent households, music taught us about the streets in a sense, you know what I mean, at certain levels, you know what I mean? So and when you apply that to right now, and we got kids listening to the music and they want to sip lean and they want to pop pills, that's what they learning now, you know what I mean? So that's what we have, and that's, you know, what it translates into in the streets, you know what I mean? So how we can fix it is be more mindful in the music and put out messages and you know, things that's more profitable.
I agree, but real quick,
go ahead.
But I feel like another way of fixing that as well, though, the substance has to come from us. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It has to come from us, because we can't get that from the music game, and we have to understand that. You know what I mean? They're getting paid to do these things. You know what I mean? The powers that be already got music on lock right now. You know what I mean? Thank God for people like J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar, who trying to give it a little, some breath. You know what I mean? Because speaking truth to life, that's real. So I'm not gonna just, drop the whole ball as far as what hip hop is kind of doing to our minds. But speaking power to truth is what we really need to be doing. But once again, man, I start with at home, and if it's not coming from the household, it needs to be coming from the community, the neighbors, the aunties, the uncles. Like, okay, this is not a perfect world. We all got our flaws. Everybody not gonna come from perfect families. But the one thing, that hasn't changed. This is, that's one thing that hasn't changed. But what has changed was the lack of want to help by other peoples throughout the community.
Right.
Now that's the big difference from maybe back then and now. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, some households was jacked up. That's it is what it is. But it's the care and concern from the community.
And that all goes back into a culture, right? You got to think about what's the components of a culture: language, music, art. All that customs, all that relates to is a culture. So if you destroy or take away a culture from a group of people, then what's going to happen? They're going to assimilate to another culture. And usually when another group of people assimilate to another culture, it works against them. And that's what we're doing. We don't have a culture. We're assimilating to another man's culture.
Exactly.
And this is why our value system is counterproductive. It's jacked up. So we have to understand is that what we living in today and how we acting and how we moving is not culture like. So when you adapt to Arabian culture, when you adapt to a Jewish culture, it's not going to empower you. It's to empower them. It's to empower their ethnicities and their values. And that's why you see a black person at a Chinese restaurant before you see them at a soul food restaurant. Because we don't have a culture. So we have to get back to that. So the question is that, well, how can we get back to a culture? Because hip-hop was a culture within itself, right?
Exactly.
When you had you know, Public Enemy, De La Soul,
X-Clan.
X-Clan, you know what I mean? Even Tupac. You had people that brought that, you know, when everybody was rocking the medallions.
That teaching, that militant,
Yeah.
you know, the knowledge.
Yeah.
All 5 elements of hip hop was more prevalent than now. Now it's just like, what the hell is it now?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? There's no knowledge. You know, like the DJ, DJ count like that. That's DJing now. Like everything is warped now. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what it is, you know. And then they taking that and they selling it back to us, and now we're trying to mimic that. It's almost like the same thing of like how I used to when I first got into this radio thing, and I used to notice how a lot of Detroit artists would like try to look and sound and all of that like Atlanta, and at the same time they were calling themselves the new Motown. It's like, why do you want to be somebody that wants to be you?
Absolutely.
And that's the same way it is that's going on right now with black people. Like they flipping it around and trying to sell us back our culture, and in some instances some of these jackasses is buying.
Nobody don't want to be
Biden.
themselves, you know.
You know, a lot of people got mad at Iggy, right? Because they felt Iggy basically misappropriated black culture, like the style. You know, she came in and acting black. But my question is, we should have been checking Lil' Kim. Because if it wasn't for Lil' Kim, Iggy wouldn't have been able to come into the game. You feel me? Because it's no way Iggy would have been able to come in the game around the time when MC Lyte was doing her thing, when you had MC Lyte, Mona Lisa, and Queen Latifah, when Queen Latifah was real.
Right.
If Iggy came, people would have looked at him like MC Hammer couldn't even come. MC Hammer was getting attacked. You mean tell me Iggy gonna come? You feel me? So we allow it once we start assimilating and we start changing up and getting away from ourselves. So we have to get back to that. That's what's important. Self-identity. You have self-identity, you'll value yourself. Once you value yourself, you'll value others.
We open that door up, and that translates almost, you know, all the way kind of getting off subject, but still on subject with the whole gay marriage thing. It's like everything is accepted now. Everything is cool now. To the point where it's just like we got transgender MMA fighters about to fight women because they can't even decide if they equal or not. Like really. So like that's where the world is going, man, and that's part of the problem. Like everything is just so open, and everybody just so, you know, supposed to be, you know, and ain't no morals. We're just supposed to accept everything. Everything is just cool.
Yeah, man. This world that we living in, real talk, like we going through a dramatic shift. Like people need to understand that.
Yeah.
Like we going through a dramatic shift. Like the world changes every so often, and this is every so often. Like right now,
Right.
And for people to be sitting around and just living the same like how they was living in the 90s and thinking that things are going to work like how they worked in the 80s, and you know, emulating things from the 70s. We have to come up with a new creative way of doing everything across the board.
I said it to people just like this. Oh man, you hit the nail on it. I'm like, if Korea was to attack us right now, like how they was Japan, whoever was about to bomb, what are we gonna do? We're gonna get on horseback and get bow and arrows and spears and shit and get the throne. Why are we trying to attack this newly advanced new age white supremacy with the same battle tactics that we used in the 60s? When something happened, all we want to do is get together and march and protest with our signs while they look down at us from their buildings in their conference rooms with their little lunch platters and bottled waters, and they're down there acting a damn fool again, huh, Bob? They got their constitutional right to do that, right?
And the thing about that though is they end up winning. Like they done found a way to understand exactly what we are going to do and figure out how to capitalize.
Here's why I was just about to say. Here's where they win, because at the end of that conversation, where they looking at us out the window, while we down there acting a damn fool, they gonna open up the books and say, "Oh, but Bob, the money's still coming in. Leave him alone." Because we still spending money with him everywhere.
But you know what I really think that comes from? I really think, and I'm just gonna be real with you, I really think a lot of black people don't really feel that they can liberate themselves, and this is why they have that Stockholm syndrome, where they go out here and they do these protests and marches because they want the sympathy or empathy, however you want to put it, from white people. They really want white people to liberate them. They don't want to liberate themselves, and they don't want to do it on their own. And that's what we about. We about, look, we ain't gonna go here and be begging for acceptance. We not gonna be begging for y'all to help us. We gonna take accountability and we gonna do it ourselves. That's essentially what New Era Detroit is about. And you'll see us out here doing that.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad y'all said that.
Unapologetically.
Now I want to ask y'all something and put something on y'all mind before we go to break. Because heard y'all speak on a lot of different so-called, I guess, activist groups, you know, about what they do. So we'll talk about that, man, when we get back. 7mileradio.com. Anywhere Detroit is in the building.